Part 41. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 402. Even though her breathing was a little rapid, Chu Qingyu, with a blushing face, still tried to smile coldly and arrogantly. This is absolutely true for you, my wife, so you can't blame me. However, this sentence made Nai Chen firm his determination instantly. In an instant, a touch of the Emperor's power was rekindled. Hey, damn it! A trace of panic flashed across his eyes, but when Chu Qingyu reacted, it was already a little too late. Picture. Sound. Details. Under the candlelight, the morning sun slowly rose for a long time. Shyly putting down yesterday's light blue phoenix skirt, Chu Qingyu had to change into a plain white palace dress. The pale white palace dress was elegant and showed a bit of extraordinary temperament. The blue satin tied on the slender waist showed a more graceful figure. The eyebrows were like spring mountains, and the autumn eyes were like water. The low-necked palace dress revealed a hint of white, which actually set off a completely different beauty for the Empress at this moment. Her beautiful face was like a peach blossom. Her beauty was both cold and elegant, and also a little bit of enchanting and soft. I didn't expect that your strength would increase so much after reaching the realm of the great emperor. This emperor miscalculated. A stream of fragrant sweat flowed down the snow-white neck, and Chu Qingyu's eyes could not help but carry a bit of resentment and pity. And it was only Nai Chen who had just reached the realm of the great emperor. But if his strength continued to grow like this. Looking at Nai Chen, who was a little weak but still had some physical strength after such a long time, the blush on his white face suddenly deepened a little. I have never felt any pressure before. But at this moment, Chu Qingyu realized for the first time the importance of finding a way to improve my strength. Otherwise, it won't be long before I even have a little difficulty in maintaining a balanced situation. Look, it's all because of you. The snow-white jade feet stepped across the ground and came to the table. There was no big problem with other letters placed far away, but the letter to the Saint of Flowers was a little different. Originally, the paper used for these letters was made of spring fragrance wood. As a kind of extremely valuable wood with abundant spiritual energy, the paper made of spring fragrance wood is not only soft and smooth, but also has many advantages such as waterproof and not easy to wrinkle. Only first-class sex can afford to use paper made of this wood. But it is this extremely precious and high-quality paper that has some soft wrinkles at this moment. She waved her hand quickly and opened the door of Tianyun Hall. But this envelope that has been completely wet can't be saved anyway. After signing the last moon on the signature, her beautiful eyebrows were full of worry. There are no more extras, only this envelope is left. What should I do? It's all your fault, I said. Take this letter away first. And it has to be on the table. The voice tapped Nai Chen's chest softly. The Empress was obviously ashamed and resentful. Then forget it, if it's something else, I really have to think of other ways. But don't worry about Saint Fanhua. Nai Chen seemed to be indifferent. Well, Fanhua's words really don't matter, it's good enough for me to give her. After thinking carefully, Chu Qingyu also agreed. The two nodded at the same time, and their opinions were obviously completely consistent. If Saint Fanhua saw this scene, I'm afraid she would be so angry that she would cry directly. Because the attitudes of these two people towards her are exactly the same. The humble saint, crying online. In that case, I'll give this letter to you. The wet letter to Saint Fanhua fell in front of Nai Chen. Soon, Chu Qingyu collected the other letters and handed them to Nai Chen. And these, please help me deliver them to various sections. The task of delivering letters was originally given to the Supreme Elder. But the wet letter from Saint Fanhua alone could not be handed over to anyone else. There was no way. Chu Qingyu had to decide temporarily to give these to Nai Chen first. The contents of these letters are. Nai Chen couldn't help but be curious about the contents of these letters. Picking up the envelope of Saint Fanhua, with the help of the spiritual pupil, he soon saw part of the content. 3 days later, Tianyun Palace. These letters contain some of the things that happened in the imperial mausoleum and the underworld, which are used to inform the world's sects. In addition, another purpose of these letters is to inform them. 3 days later, this emperor will hold a meeting. In addition to telling them the almost complete situation and details, there is also. Speaking of this, Chu Qingyu was silent for a moment. She pursed her cherry lips, obviously because it was a bit difficult to say. Although she didn't say it, Nai Chen had already made a rough guess. 3 days later, the Empress will hold a meeting for the world's sects. And the second thing to talk about. Is this moment finally coming? Nai Chen couldn't help but smile. Don't worry, my wife, leave these to me. Taking the letter from Chu Qingyu without hesitation, Nai Chen was obviously full of fighting spirit. Could it be that he knows? At this moment, even Chu Qingyu's cold face couldn't help but show a slight surprise. I shouldn't have told anyone about it? Why does Nai Chen seem to see through everything? Hey, Nai. But before she could call Nai Chen, she saw it. Opening the Tianyun gate, facing the dawn of the morning, Nai Chen had already walked out of the hall. Under the sunlight of the rising sun, people can only see the back figure clearly. But it is this back figure bathed in the sun that seems to be extremely reassuring. Who cares? Anyway, this emperor has made up his mind. After 3 days, I will announce it to the cultivators of the world no matter what. Chu Qingyu couldn't help but smile. That beautiful smile, just like the sunshine at this moment, warm to the heartstrings in my heart. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 403. 3 days later. Nai Chen couldn't help but feel full of expectations for this day. It's good to reach the realm of the great emperor. After 2 hours, he didn't feel weak. Satisfied and comfortable. Shaking his shoulders, Nai Chen also set out to go to the Holy Land of Flowers and send the message quickly. But when passing by the square in front of the holy statue of the Empress, Nai Chen's figure instantly attracted the attention of many disciples. Brother Nai, what are you going to do? After a sneaky look around for a while, several disciples came forward immediately. I am ordered by the Empress to deliver the letter to the Holy Land of Flowers and other sects. I am not responsible for your training today. You can choose to train by yourself, or ask Elder Wang for help. Thinking that these disciples wanted to train hard, Nai Chen didn't think much and answered directly. How long will it take, Brother Nai? Hearing this, more and more disciples gathered around. Moreover, they seemed extremely curious. Nai Chen could not help but feel slightly puzzled. He did not seem to remember how diligent these guys were on weekdays. But after hesitating for a moment, he still answered, in 1 day at the shortest, and 3 days at the longest, there are still many sects that need to distribute these letters. I understand, Senior Brother Nai, please rest assured, we will definitely train, and we will train harder than usual. Hearing Nai Chen's answer, the disciples seemed to have taken a reassurance pill. Not only did they nod heavily, but they also seemed more excited than the other, and agreed one after another. Brother Nai Chen, rest assured, the task of training them will be handed over to me. Even Elder Wang came forward, looking righteous. Thinking back to the way they were beaten to a pulp yesterday, they almost found a place to cry. Nai Chen frowned slightly, and always felt something was wrong. But with the Empress here, these disciples would not dare to act rashly. Okay, since you want to train, stay in Tianyun Hall and improve your strength. Don't forget your promise to serve Tianyun Hall and protect the Empress until death. After saying that, Nai Chen turned around and left. Brother Nai, take care. The disciples said goodbye in unison, and the intimacy in their voices was unprecedented. and watching Nai Chen go away and gradually disappear into the horizon. These disciples finally couldn't hide their excitement at all, and they were so happy that they wanted to jump up directly. Great, Brother Nai is finally gone. That's right, 2 days, we were abused for 2 whole days, this time, maybe there is really a chance. Looking at each other, everyone's eyes were filled with excitement that could not be concealed. Even Elder Wang couldn't help but tremble with joy. Because, their thoughts at this moment were surprisingly consistent. The disciples of Tianyun Hall trained for 2 days, and the Empress also came to inspect for 2 consecutive days. Although the Empress had given Nai Chen the green bean porridge and water for the past 2 days. But on this beautiful 3rd day, Nai Chen finally left. And Nai Chen's departure also means that if the Empress comes to inspect, it is very likely. It is very likely that everyone will have a chance this time. The cheers echoed in the huge square. Except for Nai Chen, the Empress seemed to treat other disciples equally. So, without senior brother Nai, although there are many people, the opportunities have become equal. That is to say, when the Empress comes to inspect today, everyone will have the opportunity to drink the green bean porridge cooked by the Empress herself. When thinking of this, the disciples were so excited that they felt their hearts were about to jump out. After all, that was the Empress. Not to mention the green bean porridge cooked by the Empress herself, even the path that the Empress had walked on was worthy of their awe and awe. Even if they could receive the stones sent by the Empress, it would be enough for them to be excited for a lifetime and keep them forever as heirlooms. If I really have the chance to get the mung bean porridge sent by the Empress, I will definitely drink it all in one gulp. Drink it all in one gulp? What's the point of that? If I can get it, I will hold it in my mouth and never eat, drink water, or talk again in this life. If I can get it, I must freeze that bowl of mung bean porridge and pass it down from generation to generation as a family heirloom. The discussions that came one after another were enough to show how much the disciples were looking forward to it. Even Elder Wang couldn't help but waver a little in his eyes, trying to make a calm expression. Don't say anything, you should hurry up and train hard for me. Maybe seeing how hard you work, the Empress can come to inspect earlier. Yes. This time the response was very straightforward. These male disciples who were originally exhausted and sweating after running 10,000 meters and didn't want to move at once were like hormones, and each one was more active than the other. 1, 2, 3, 4. The loudness of today's slogans was far louder than the previous 2 days. While watching them, although Elder Wang pretended to be calm on the surface, his heart was more excited than these disciples. After all, it was Nai Chen who led the disciples to train the past 2 days. Nai Chen received mung bean porridge and water from the Empress for 2 consecutive days. In other words, in fact, the one with the greatest chance today is actually me. At this moment, Elder Wang could not keep his heart calm at all. On the huge venue, whether it was Elder Wang or a group of disciples, they were all so excited that they couldn't express it in words. They were looking forward to it, and many people even began to imagine that they were lucky enough to receive the mung bean porridge from the Empress. No one even took a break at noon, for fear that they would accidentally miss something. But half an hour passed. An hour passed. 2 hours passed. 3 hours passed. Watching the sun gradually sink into the mountain, the Empress's figure did not appear. Impossible, it must be that the Empress is just a little late. Why hasn't the Empress come yet? I don't believe it. With the Empress's fairness and integrity, it is absolutely impossible for her to only give preferential treatment to Nai Chen. However, it was not until the sun completely sank into the mountain and the sky became completely dark. Elder Wang and the disciples who looked at each other realized the problem. Without Nai Chen, the Empress didn't even come to inspect. So, it turns out that the Empress's mung bean porridge was really only given to Nai Chen. The only one who can make the Empress cook mung bean porridge in person is Nai Chen. I can't bear it, sister. As the sun sets, a wailing sound echoes on the top of the Tianyun Palace. Some want to cry but have no tears, while others cry loudly. These disciples' hearts have obviously suffered a severe trauma. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 404. A sneeze. Walking against the wind, Nai Chen suddenly sneezed inexplicably. Strange, why do I feel like someone is scolding me? Nai Chen was stunned for a moment and looked around, but there was no one else around. At this moment, with a gust of cold wind blowing, the scene below has been revealed. It's autumn now, and the large forests on the mountains have turned into fiery red or light yellow. Many plants and flowers that are not hardy to the cold have begun to die. Looking from a distance, the empty land in the distance is completely different from today's season. The flowers all over the mountains and plains exude the fragrance of flowers and plants, are colorful, and show no signs of dying. Countless coquettish flowers even seem to have gathered into an extremely beautiful sea of flowers, which is so pleasing to the eye that one cannot help but be intoxicated by it. In front of you is the holy land of flowers. Nai Chen suddenly felt a little unaccustomed to being able to ride the wind by himself. After all, I always rode a dragon when traveling far away. It was both convenient and comfortable, obviously completely different from what it is now. But since he accidentally revealed that he and the Empress had a sweet honeymoon in the underworld. Although he got rid of the angry pursuit of the Blossom Saint and Aolan, the little dragon Aolan did not return to Tianyun Palace to look for him like before. It seems that he is really a little angry. But Nai Chen was not worried at all. After all, facing Aolan, he had an extremely powerful and tried and true weapon, the golden scaled carp. After a while, Nai Chen landed at the entrance of the Holy Land of Flowers. But unexpectedly, the disciple guarding the door did not directly let him go. I'm sorry, Brother Nai. The Holy Lady has given an order that no matter who wants to enter the Holy Land, they must first obtain her permission. The female disciple felt somewhat guilty and blocked Nai Chen from the Holy Land. Well, it doesn't matter. I'll wait here for a while, and you can go talk to the saint. Nai Chen nodded, very tolerant. After all, when I came to the Holy Land this time, I still had a letter from the Empress with me. Given the saintess fear of the Empress, given her 10 courages, she would not dare to let herself in after hearing the situation. Okay, senior brother, wait a moment, I will convey it to the saint. The female disciple quickly agreed, and then quickly entered the Holy Land and reported the matter to the flower saint. At this moment, Aolan was also beside the flower saint. Reject, I will not see Nai Chen. The Blossom Saint girl snorted softly and acted very determinedly. Yes, absolutely can't see you. Otherwise, I will definitely be exposed to another show of affection. Yes, I have discovered that Nai Chen and King Yu are simply walking ruthless dog food dispensing machines. Even if only Nai Chen comes, the ending will definitely be the same. When I talk about this, I suddenly think of the cruelty of their honeymoon secretly in the holy sea of the underworld, ruthlessly showing off their affection. Me too, who knows how to pity singles in the world. After a while, the flower saint and Aolan began to whisper pitifully. They had long forgotten their hatred of being left behind by Nai Chen and the Empress, hugging each other pitifully. But he was tortured to pieces by the ruthless dog food, and he absolutely didn't want to take another bite in a short period of time. Saint, are you sure? Hearing this response, the female disciple was also a little dumbfounded. Sure. The big and small Blossom Saint and Aolan actually answered in unison. I don't want to be abused again. No matter what happens this time, I will never let Nai Chen in. Yes. This saint is a person of principles. Don't think about anything no matter what. Female disciple. Okay, then I will convey it to senior brother Nai. After being stunned for a long time, the female disciple had no choice but to turn around and leave. She quickly returned to the entrance of the Holy Land and conveyed the news to Nai Chen with some guilt. I'm sorry, brother Nai. After some discussion, the saint doesn't seem to want you to enter the Holy Land. Sorry, why don't you please come back first and come back later when the saint changes her mind? However, Nai Chen shook his head calmly, as if he didn't think that he would not be able to get in. Please help me convey it to the saint, saying that I am here for business. As for the matter, but the empress told me to come. But the saint has said that no matter what happens, we will not meet. Okay, then I'd better help senior brother Nai go and ask. Halfway through her words, the female disciple looked at Nai Chen's firm and seemingly confident eyes, but she finally swallowed her words back. For some reason, she always felt that Nai Chen seemed to be completely sure. Good work. Nai Chen smiled slightly. Well, you're welcome, senior brother Nai. The figure of the female disciple soon disappeared, and she found the flower saint again. Holy girl, senior brother Nai said that there are important things to come here this time, so he needs to enter the Holy Land. Nothing will work, I definitely don't want to see him now. The flower saint snorted softly and was about to refuse without hesitation. At this moment, the female disciple happened to continue. By the way, saint, senior brother Nai also said that he came on the order of the empress. In an instant, the flower saint became silent. How about? Let Nai Chen come in. She chuckled twice in embarrassment. She suddenly looked at Aolan, with a hint of fear in her expression. Huh? Why is it different from what you said just now? Aolan was completely dumbfounded. She clearly remembered that the saint in the last second was still decisive and did not hesitate. Why did she immediately become cowardly in just a moment? Saint, didn't you just say that no matter what happened, you would never let Nai Chen come in to give dog food? I did say that. The Saint of Flowers hesitated, as if trying her best to think of an excuse. I did say that, but there is no way. Nai Chen said that he came here because of King Yu's order, it must be a big deal. The Emperor's mausoleum incident has just subsided, and there may be some dangers hidden. So, we can't slack off. If we miss important news, it will be terrible. But when she raised her head, she quickly noticed Ao Ian's little eyes that didn't believe it at all. Are you sure? Yes, sure. Sure, sure. Sure, sure, sure. Okay, woo woo woo, I'm actually afraid of King Yu. What if King Yu really knows, and they come up with a husband and wife doubles match against me again? Finally, the Saint of Flowers couldn't hold it anymore. She was a saint, a great emperor, but few people knew that the poor saint was bullied by her best friend. Woo woo woo. Aolan. Female disciple. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 405. After a short while, Nai Chen was let in. When he walked into the Holy Land and saw the two figures, one large and one small, he couldn't help but smile and say hello. Hey, long time no see. But what responded to Nai Chen was the resentful eyes of the Flower Saint and Aolan, as if they were always on guard against him. There was no way. One person and one dragon were now full of doubts about Nai Chen. Although he was alone now, the Empress did not come. But they are always worried that if they are not careful, they will be exposed to a show of affection, and their bodies will be completely exposed. Don't worry, I'm here to convey the Queen's instructions this time. How can I have time to bully you? Nai Chen only responded calmly and explained. 3 days later, the Empress will hold a meeting for all the sects in the world. Inform each sect of the specific events of the emperor's tomb, and, the second thing mentioned before announcing the entry into the emperor's tomb. I left Tianyun Palace this time to deliver these letters to all the major sects. With that said, Nai Chen shook his hand into the void, and a letter soon appeared in his hand. So that's it? The Blossom Saint dropped her guard slightly and nodded seriously. After all, the imperial mausoleum concerns all people in the world, and it is indeed a huge matter. As expected, King Yu acted vigorously and resolutely, and she had just returned from the imperial mausoleum and was about to hold a meeting. But with a trace of vigilance on her face, the Flower Saint quickly began to whisper to Aolan. This is about the imperial mausoleum, so we can't still show affection, right? This time it's business. I feel like there should be no risk. Yeah, I think so too. At this time, one person and one dragon finally felt relieved. If that's the case, after all, the Imperial Mausoleum is indeed extremely dangerous. Just pretend I don't know about the fact that you went to the underworld for your honeymoon after showing off your affection. After hesitating for a long time, the Flower Saint finally made up her mind and said quietly. Then Dragon King can just pretend to have forgotten it. Aolan thought carefully for a while and finally said. Looking at each other, a trace of trust finally appeared in their eyes. The letters in Nai Chen's hand seemed to be signed by the Empress herself. Coupled with the preciousness of the envelope material, it is enough to show that the Empress attaches great importance to this matter. The Face World sect has announced two major events. With this level of importance, it's impossible to eat dog food anymore, right? I feel generally safe. The Flower Saint nodded seriously. I think so too. Aolan also excitedly clapped his hands with the Flower Saint, and both of them let out a long sigh of relief. It's great. Finally, I no longer have to be cruelly stuffed with a mouthful of dog food. The days of feeling like you were crying all day long are finally over. No matter what you think, the Empress is not around now. Before the conference, it is impossible for the two of them to find a way to show off their affection again. The Flower Saint, who has been single for 800 years, could not help but raise the corners of her mouth with joy. I understand, then give me the letter from the Empress. She felt so confident that she had completely forgotten how she was trembling just now because she was afraid of dog food. Ahem, Saint, this letter of yours is accidentally wrinkled, so you won't mind. At this moment, Nai Chen, who was about to take out the envelope, suddenly remembered something and coughed twice in embarrassment. Folds. It doesn't matter, I don't mind what that kind of thing does. As long as you and King Yu are tortured in different ways, it's better than anything else. It had been several days since she had been abused, and the Flower Saint was obviously in a good mood. Then, it doesn't matter if you accidentally get a little soaked in water. At this moment, Nai Chen spoke again. Soaked. The Blossom Saint hesitated for a moment, but she didn't really care about these details. At most, King Yu accidentally knocked over the water on the table. It doesn't matter, as long as you can see the content clearly. As expected of the Blossom Saint, she doesn't stick to trivial matters, she's so good. Seeing this, Nai Chen gave a thumbs up without hesitation in praise. Humph, you know how powerful the saint is. It was the first time that Nai Chen praised her like this, and the Flower Saint couldn't help but feel a little happy in her heart. He even raised his head a little proudly and did not forget to praise himself one more time. This is how the saint is, as long as she can know what King Yu wants to convey, it is enough. I won't care so much about these unnecessary details. In that case, let's take a look at the saint. After hearing these words, Nai Chen opened the space and took out the letter that belonged to the Flower Saint. It's not that he doesn't want to deal with it. In fact, the paper material made of Chunxiang wood is somewhat special. Although the paper made of Chunxiang wood will not be deformed by Qinshui, the text will not be read clearly. but the material is extremely easy to store water and odor. Unless it is burned by a fire, the envelope made of spring fragrant wood will not emit the moisture and smell at all. That's why Nai-Chen repeatedly inoculated the Blossom Saint. Hey, how come the Empress happened to write just the right number of letters? If I had written one more letter, it would not have resulted in this situation. Nai-Chen sighed in his heart, but now that he had arrived at the Holy Land, he had no choice but to hand the letter into the hands of the Flower Saint. Let me see what King Yu wrote inside. She took the envelope with a little pride and wanted to take a look at the contents, but when she touched it, she suddenly felt something was wrong. This letter, why does it feel weird? Although she knew that Chunxiang wood absorbs water, she had just heard Nai-Chen's vaccination. However, the Saint of Flowers, who originally thought that she had just sprinkled water to wet the letter, suddenly felt something strange. Why, it always feels a little sticky. This feeling is obviously different from normal water. It's like. Suddenly, she felt a sudden tremor in her heart. This is not water, is this? In just a moment, the Saint of Flowers' pretty face changed slightly. Lanzi, holding the wet letter, trembled slightly, and her eyes couldn't help but show disbelief. No way, no way, no matter how bold King Yu is, she can't. Finally, she couldn't keep calm anymore. Saint Fanhua picked up the letter, and even her hands trembled slightly. Finally, as if she had made up her mind. She was completely determined. She suddenly picked up the letter, put it to her nose, and breathed in without hesitation. This, smell. In just a moment, Saint Fanhua's cheeks were as red as the sunset, and even her voice was trembling with shame and anger. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 406. Strange, what's wrong with you, Saint? Suddenly noticing the strange look on Saint Flower's face, Aolan beside her couldn't help but feel curious. He tried his best to tiptoe and smell the letter in her hand. But in an instant, the blush on Aoian's little face became even more red than Saint Flower's. She had been influenced by the stories told by the old dragons, and even though she had never smelled this smell before, she suddenly understood something. No wonder you were in a hurry to return to Tianyun Hall with King Yu just after you came back. It turned out to be, it was. Saint Flower's shameful and angry voice echoed in the hall, and both the man and the dragon couldn't help but want to cry. In their simple brains, they had already recalled some erotic scenes. They thought of various possibilities and tried to take a day off so as not to be fed a mouthful of dog food. But they never expected that they would be abused again just by reading a letter. This is simply too much. How could the first thing the emperor did after returning to the mainland was to do that thing? Moreover, the letter written to her on the table next to her was just halfway written. At this moment, Saint Fanhua suddenly suspected that the Empress was doing it on purpose. Deliberately bullying a young girl who has been single for only 800 years. Wow, she didn't even let go of the time to write a letter. How long does Nai-Chen have to spend with the Empress every day? One man and one dragon hugged and cried, feeling the deep malice of this world towards single dogs. Wow. After a long time, Aolan asked pitifully. But Saint, what is written in the letter? What is it? Saint Fanhua barely recovered from her sadness and looked at the content of the letter. The first thing was a summary of what happened in the Imperial Mausoleum and the underworld. The second thing was to invite all the sects in the world to arrive at Tianyun Hall for a meeting in 3 days. The third thing was that the Empress told her that she was going to announce something that she had not said before at the conference. The content is quite serious, but this letter is not serious at all. Saint Fanhua was about to cry. I understand. I will take my disciples to Tianyun Palace in 3 days. But for these 3 days, I will never see you show affection again. Otherwise, my heart can't stand it. Me too. Even Aolan felt that his young heart could not stand such a blow. Ahem, it's good that Saint knows. Looking at the wet letter, Nai Chen couldn't help but cough awkwardly. It must be said that the Empress does hide a wild heart under her cold appearance. Otherwise, this letter would not be. Obviously, Saint Fanhua was at a loss, not knowing whether to hold it or throw it aside in panic. Temporarily let go of Saint Fanhua, who was curled up and pitiful. Nai Chen walked up and grabbed Ao Ian's collar and pulled her up. Strange, why is my body suspended in the air? Ao Lan, who was suddenly grabbed by Nai Chen, immediately danced her hands and feet in panic. Although she is petite and light, she needs a lot of strength to pull Ao Ian's body into the air because she is a dragon king and has strong strength. Even Nai Chen, who entered the imperial mausoleum before, did not find it easy to do this in one go. Ao Ian's little face clearly revealed a hint of surprise. Nonsense, you may have forgotten who you signed the master-servant contract with. Next, I have to go to other sects to deliver letters, so you can follow me. After not seeing each other for half a month, Ao Ian's rebelliousness seemed to have increased a little bit. Nai Chen laughed angrily and flicked her dragon horn. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Ao Lan immediately showed a mask of pain, and was even a little panicked. After being purified by pure blood, her dragon horn should be extremely tough. How could it be so painful to flick it? Could it be that Nai Chen's strength has increased again? No, shouldn't he still be stuck before the great emperor? Ao Lan raised her little hand to try to resist. Ugly rejection, I absolutely don't want to be shown affection anymore. It's safer to stay with the Saint of Flowers, who has been single for 10,000 years and will never have a Taoist partner. At least I won't eat dog food. Saint of Flowers. Are you polite? The mind suffered a 10,000-point blow. Are you sure? However, in the face of Ao Ian's rebellion, Nai Chen smiled slightly, as if he was not worried at all. Friendly reminder, although it is easy to eat dog food when following me. But in addition to dog food, there are other things to eat. Other things. Ao Ian's eyes lit up instantly. Yes, just consider it as compensation for you being trapped behind the gate of the Imperial Mausoleum, a golden carp. As he said, Nai Chen stretched out a finger. Golden carp. In an instant, Ao Lan seemed to suddenly feel a throbbing heart. Resisting the excitement in her heart, she still tried to fight. No, even if it's a golden carp this time, I can't give in so easily. Although he protested verbally, Ao Lan even shook his head reluctantly, obviously trying to change his mind. Even though it's just one, you can eat 3 things at once. Braise the carp head, steam the carp body, and deep fry the carp tail. Just then, Nai Chen spoke again, and his voice was full of a sense of victory. Bang! Sure enough, after hearing this, Ao Lan felt as if her heart was suddenly struck. Braised, steamed, fried, one fish in 3 ways. In front of her eyes, it seemed as if a whole new world had opened up. There seemed to be bright little stars flashing in her eyes, and Ao Ian's little tail could not help but start shaking. Moreover, the frequency of shaking began to become faster and faster. If you perform well, maybe I can give you a little more. Seizing the opportunity, Nai Chen stretched out his second finger. Let's go quickly, I want to deliver the letter now. At this moment, Ao Lan could no longer restrain her inner joy and almost shouted it out. Are you not afraid of eating dog food? Nai Chen said with a smile. Ao Lan immediately replied, what are you afraid of? I've seen you do more shameful things before. Then you won't accompany Saint Fanhua to despise the secular world. Although Saint Fanhua is soft, she's not as delicious as the golden carp. Haha, let's go. No wonder a child's face can be used to describe the weather. Ao Ian's speed of changing his face made Nai Chen laugh. A burst of light appeared, and Nai Chen flew directly on the dragon, heading out of the prosperous Holy Land. Woo, 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 this is too cruel. Only Saint Fanhua, who had neither a pet nor a Taoist partner, could only be cruelly fed dog food, stayed where she was, and was about to cry. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 407. 3 days later. What should I wear? Do I need to put on some makeup or braid my hair? What about blush? Is it better to put on some? And your temperament that day, is it better not to be as cold as before? In Tianyun Hall, no one knew that Chu Qingyu was hesitating repeatedly at this moment, and even wandered around the hall anxiously. Her hurried footsteps and slightly flushed cheeks while wandering were enough to show that she was thinking hard. The conference 3 days later was an important day. It was not because the monks from countless sects in the world were facing each other this time. Before this, Chu Qingyu had faced the sects in the world countless times, but her cold and arrogant expression had never changed at all. Even if there were more sects, she would not feel the slightest panic. But this time, the situation was completely different. It was a simple matter for Chu Qingyu to inform the sects in the world of what happened in the Imperial Mausoleum and the underworld in detail. But what really matters to her is the second thing she is about to announce. Although she has made up her mind countless times and made countless preparations. But Chu Qingyu, who originally thought that she could tell the world about that matter calmly, as time approaches. Every time she thinks of it, she can't help but feel a panic in her heart, and even a little at a loss. The cold, arrogant, and firm character of Empress Qingyu is almost known to the world. Things that can make her panic, let alone other people, even Chu Qingyu herself has never seen after ascending the throne. But this time, she encountered something that was enough to make her panic. Moreover, it was the kind that as long as she thought about it, her face would suddenly turn red and she would not know what to say. Ahem, calm down, this emperor must not be disturbed by such a small matter. After all, that kind of thing is not human nature. Even if it is not announced now, it will be known to everyone sooner or later. Hesitating in the hall, Chu Qingyu had to calm her mind repeatedly. And, try to control yourself from thinking about Nai Chen. Nai Chen, wait. At this moment, Chu Qingyu suddenly recalled an extremely important matter. Just now, she handed the letter to Nai Chen and asked him to deliver it to the major sects. Other sects have nothing to do with it, but she ignored the letter that was originally placed at the end of the pile of letters. That letter was delivered to the world's largest demon sect Luosheng Temple. As the head of the demon sects in Lanchuan continent, Tianyun Temple and Luosheng Temple originally had no connection. But because Luosheng Temple is the largest demon sect, it does not have too much hostility towards most of the righteous sects. In addition, the matter of the emperor's tomb concerns the entire Lanchuan continent, so Chu Qingyu decided to let the demon sect send a representative to attend the conference. Based on the style of Luosheng Temple over the years, it should not refuse to participate, and it should not do anything out of the ordinary. But Nai Chen, who went to deliver the letter this time, was completely different. Luosheng Hall usually does not attack ordinary righteous practitioners, but Nai Chen was a disciple of the demon sect before entering Tianyun Hall. The demon sect often hates the traitors the most, especially Luosheng Hall. In the eyes of Luosheng Hall, abandoning the dark and joining the light is equivalent to being a traitor. Although the demon sect does not do evil, it must not have traitors. These demon sect monks who are not considered murderous on weekdays will instantly become extremely cruel once they see their fellow monks who abandon the evil and join the righteous. In these years alone, I don't know how many monks who were once demons died tragically in their hands not long after abandoning the dark and joining the light. If Nai Chen went to Luosheng Hall, his special identity would most likely cause the anger of the entire Luosheng Hall. Now Nai Chen has been promoted to the realm of the Great Emperor. If he wants to leave, it is almost impossible for any demon cultivator to stop him. But the only one is the demon emperor Xiao Yang Kaiu. Although this person rarely shows his hand, he has always been the strongest pillar behind the demon sect. Not only is he at the level of a great emperor, his strength is far more terrifying than what he seems to be. Even in Lanchuan continent, he is almost the only one weaker than himself. What if he wants to attack Nai Chen? Chu Qingyu frowned slightly, and a trace of worry emerged in her heart, and her eyes looked outside the Tianyun Palace. I hope you don't do anything stupid, otherwise, I don't mind flattening all the demon sects in the world. The whispering voice revealed a bone-chilling chill. At this moment, Chu Qingyu's character of protecting her husband was clearly visible. Leaving the Flower Holy Land, Nai Chen rode a dragon. The whistling wind blew past his ears from time to time, and the cool feeling made people feel quite comfortable. Perhaps because of the fear in the Imperial Mausoleum, Aoian's strength and bloodline seemed to have improved significantly during this period of time. Under the reflection of the sun, the golden dragon scales looked more radiant and majestic. Flying in the sky, it soon attracted countless mortals to admire and worship it, and they were filled with awe. Even the monks who happened to look up at the sky couldn't help but feel awe. The dazzling golden dragon scales and the majestic dragon horns made them clearly feel how pure the dragon bloodline flying by was. Even the dragon king of a sea area couldn't match it. More importantly, there is actually a human figure on the dragon body. Who would it be to be able to sit on the dragon king with such strength? Feeling the cool and comfortable air, even Nai Chen couldn't help but sigh. Riding a dragon is more comfortable than riding the wind on your own. Ao Lan, you should try your best to improve your strength as quickly as possible. You need some endurance, otherwise what if you can't fly after just a few hours? Ao Lan. Aoian's speed was so fast that the speed of sending letters was greatly improved. In just half a day, Nai Chen flew to almost every major sect in the world and threw letters down. Looking at the figure of a man and a dragon in the sky, these sects were all in awe and did not dare to do any blasphemous behavior. Riding the Dragon King to deliver a message? When had they seen this behavior before? Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving the admiration from the disciples of Tiansheng sect. Congratulations to the host for receiving the admiration from the disciples of Wangxiang sect. Congratulations to the host for receiving favor from the master of Shihe section. The master wants to invite the host to fencing together. Nai Chen, tell him to get lost. System. The sun gradually set, and as the day passed, Nai Chen traveled through all the major sects as quickly as possible. But when he drove Aolan to the last place, looking at the mountains in front of him, Nai Chen couldn't help but frown slightly. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 408. The mountain in front of him was a towering mountain. The mountain was about 10,000 meters high, and its outline was similar to the mountain where the Tianyun Palace was located. Such a terrain could better condense the dragon veins, gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and integrate it into the mountain. Such a structure would definitely be of great help to the cultivators living on the mountain. Being able to occupy such an excellent feng shui treasure land is enough to show the strength of the sect standing here. But Nai Chen frowned slightly. Walking on this mountain, he could actually feel the extremely strong demonic energy. Although it looked nothing unusual on the surface, the cold and strong demonic energy seemed to cover the world here. Strange, this place seems a little weird. Even Aolan, who had turned into a human again, looked at the mountain in front of him, and couldn't help but have a trace of fear on his face. The strength of the sect here should not be underestimated for being able to make her, the Dragon King, feel such a feeling. At this moment, with golden light in his eyes, Nai Chen raised his head and saw the power standing on the mountain peak. Luosheng Hall. So that's it? Nai Chen soon understood why this place was so extraordinary. As the first demon sect that stood out among countless demon sects, Luosheng Hall naturally had a formidable strength and status. Among the many demon sects, the status of Luosheng Hall was no different from that of Tianyun Hall in the righteous sects. Even though the power of the demon sects in the world has been greatly curbed, no one dared to provoke the power of Luosheng Hall easily. Feared by the righteous sects, it was also admired by the demon sects. Moreover, although Luosheng Hall practiced magic skills and was respected as the first demon sect, it rarely did evil things. Although Luosheng Hall would be more ruthless than other demon sects when competing for magic weapons and secret resources. But for ordinary people and righteous monks, Luosheng Hall rarely had the intention to attack. Therefore, although the influence of Luosheng Temple has been growing in recent years, it has not caused a joint attack by the righteous sects. On the contrary, because of its status as the largest demon sect, it has ruled many other demon sects, large and small, and avoided many wars and the wanton rampage of some demon sect monks. So that among ordinary people, except for some fear, Luosheng Temple has a pretty good reputation. However, looking up at the high mountain in front of him, Nai Chen smelled a bit of unfriendly breath in the thick demonic air. This first demon sect with a good reputation did not seem to have much goodwill towards him. I am Nai Chen from Tianyun Temple, and I am here to deliver a letter on the order of the empress. Facing the top of the mountain, Nai Chen just bowed calmly. Although his behavior was polite, it clearly revealed that he had no fear at all. Boom boom. After a long silence, a mechanical sound echoed on the high mountain of Luosheng Temple. The forest blocking the way in front of him split into two sides, revealing a long road made of steel leading to the top of the mountain. There was no response, but it seemed to indicate that Nai Chen could go up the mountain. This cold breath clearly made people feel extremely unfriendly. Looking at the long steel road in front of him, Nai Chen did not hesitate and stepped on it directly. Aolan also hurriedly followed, as if he was still frightened, and could not help but gently hook Nai Chen's arm. Although the road was revealed, there were sharp weapons hanging on the road leading to the top of the mountain. There were sharp knives, arrows, spears, and skulls that made people shudder. Not only that, the demonic energy on both sides slowly condensed and turned into hideous monsters or dry bones. It repeatedly floated beside Nai Chen, making a chilling sound. Those sounds were like the howling of evil spirits and the crying of evil babies. As they walked up step by step, the sharp blades hanging from all directions began to slide slowly and irregularly. Many weapons were even stained with visible blood, and it was unknown when they had pierced people's bodies. The hanging sharp blades and the ghost fog floating in the air. This strange scene even made the space distorted and tremble, constantly disturbing the minds of those who were moving forward. This long road seemed to be a road to death, constantly distorting the minds of climbers. Its intensity was even more strange. If you are not careful, even the strong men in the Baha'i realm may be disturbed and fall into boundless fear or even completely crazy when walking on this road. For many cultivators, this road is even enough to end their lives. Even if the cultivation realm is sufficient, there are probably very few cultivators who have the state of mind to pass through here. It is enough to see that the strength of Luosheng Hall is indeed not as good as it seems. Life and death on this road is determined by fate. It is much more difficult to pass than it seems on the surface. However, facing this dead end, Nai Chen's steps were extremely firm, and even his eyes never changed. Looking straight ahead, his eyes seemed to reveal a determination that could not be shaken no matter what. Even if the sharp blades were dancing, the ghosts were roaring, and all kinds of scenes continued to impact his mind. These things could not even make Nai Chen stop for a moment. Taking some time, Nai Chen even stretched out his hand and gently rubbed Ao Ian's head. Hoo, it was close, this Dragon King was almost scared just now. Suddenly, Aolan, who was in a state of confusion and had already shown a trace of fear, completely recovered. It seemed as if a stream of golden light like a clear spring flowed into Nai Chen's palm, completely calming all her panic. The long steel road in front of him seemed to be completely unscathed. Roar! Finally, when the clouds on the top of the mountain appeared in front of him, a huge ghost formed by countless black fog roared and rushed towards Nai Chen. Nai Chen did not dodge or evade, but took the last step calmly. The next moment, the huge ghost passed through his body and completely dissipated like clouds and smoke. The entire long steel road has been completely broken through. Nai Chen, who walked to the top of the mountain, even had a firm look in his eyes, as if he had never been shaken. You can actually pass through here so easily. Yes, it seems that you are still qualified to see me with your own eyes. A cold voice came from a distance. Nai Chen looked calmly and looked at the scene on the top of Luosheng Hall. A group of ferocious and cold demon cultivators stood on both sides. In addition to their hateful eyes, they also had a trace of awe and fear towards the source of the sound. And on the throne surrounded by many demon cultivators, sat a man in a black robe and long hair. This man was the demon emperor of Luosheng Hall, Xiao Yang Kaiu. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 409. It was able to make the chaotic demon sect submit and respect him as the demon emperor, and at the same time consolidate the position of Luosheng Hall as the largest demon sect. Xiao Yang Kai's strength can be imagined. However, the dark and deep eyes looked at Nai Chen, but it was obviously not friendly. There was even a hint of murderous intent. Why did you come to Luosheng Hall? Xiao Yang Kai's deep voice came out, making the demon cultivators on both sides stand in awe, as if they were extremely awed. Nai Chen answered very calmly. 3 days later, the Empress will hold a meeting in Tianyun Hall to meet the sects of the world. I came here to deliver the Empress's letter. The Empress's letter. Soon, Xiao Yang Kai sneered, and his eyes were already cold and cold. I welcome the Empress Qingyu to come and deliver the letter herself, but you don't have the qualifications. This sentence made the atmosphere cold in an instant. Nai Chen of Tianyun Hall, do you know what crime you have committed? Among the demon cultivators on both sides, a fat man with strong demonic energy suddenly shouted angrily. Before Nai Chen could answer, a demon cultivator's eyes were red, staring at Nai Chen. As a disciple of the demon sect, I betrayed the demon sect and became a disciple of the Queen Qingyu. The only crime for this trip is death. Death. The voice echoed in the dark and gloomy hall, and many demon cultivators on both sides shouted loudly. The thick black fog seemed to feel their anger and blocked the way back. Above Luosheng Hall, a strong murderous intent almost covered the sky and the earth. Now you know, don't you think you can still deliver this letter to me? Xiao Yang Kai finally spoke again, but there was a hint of mockery in his voice. Of course, if I think I can't deliver it, why would I come here? However, facing the scene in front of him, Nai Chen smiled indifferently. Looking around, not only was there no fear, but it seemed that he didn't even take us seriously. This kid actually doesn't look down on us at all. Asshole, do you think that with the support of Queen Qingyu behind you, you can protect you? Today, you dare to come to Luosheng Hall alone, and there is only one way to die waiting for you. That's right, kill him. This look instantly aroused the endless anger of those demon cultivators. Angry shouts echoed in Luosheng Hall, and the anger in their eyes seemed to want to tear Nai Chen to pieces. At this moment, Xiao Yang Kai raised his hand and signaled these demon cultivators to calm down temporarily. Suddenly, the entire Luosheng Hall became silent. How do you think that you can still deliver the letter to me in your desperate situation now? With a sneer on his lips, he seemed to be quite curious about Nai Chen's reaction. But more of it was still a stronger killing intent. Nai Chen smiled slightly. Of course, my idea is very simple, and the method is even simpler. As long as I smash your dog head, I can easily pass the letter to you, right? Of course, All I want to do is to give you the letter, and your life or death doesn't matter to me. When this sentence was said, the air seemed to freeze. Even those extremely arrogant demon cultivators stared at Nai Chen with eyes wide open, their eyes full of disbelief. They never thought that Nai Chen would dare to say such a thing. Smash the demon emperor's dog head. So far, no one has ever dared to make such a bold statement. And, he was surrounded by enemies and stood alone on the Luosheng Hall. They already knew Nai Chen's past identity. Before entering the Tianyun Hall, this kid was originally a discarded child that even the demon sect disdained to be a disciple. Although he seemed to have outstanding qualifications and his cultivation improved rapidly, he should not have grown to any extent in just 1 year. What on earth did he rely on to dare to be so disrespectful to the demon emperor? Oh! Hit my head? I don't know how long it has been since I last saw someone who dared to say such a thing. Ha ha ha, it's really funny. Xiao Yangkaiu, who was sitting on the bone chair, suddenly laughed, and the laughter became a little crazy. But suddenly, the laughter stopped. Xiao Yangkaiu looked at Nai Chen, and his eyes suddenly carried an incomparable killing intent. The strong sense of oppression almost spread all over the world. But I want to see what qualifications you have to say such things. Since I dare to say it, I am qualified. However, Nai Chen smiled faintly, but it seemed even more calm. Hey, don't make such jokes casually. In the huge dark palace, the sense of oppression coming from all directions, and the strong killing intent of those hideous demon cultivators, made Ao Ian's face pale slightly. She knew very well that the eccentric demon emperor alone was not someone she could easily provoke, not to mention that she was still in the other party's lair. Although Ao Lan has always believed in Nai Chen's strength. But in this situation, she didn't dare to believe that Nai Chen could really be as calm as he seemed. After all, he was facing the first major demon sect and a great emperor. Don't worry, just hide behind me quietly. But hearing Ao Ian's frightened voice, Nai Chen just gently stroked her smooth hair. Wait, do you really have a way to deal with him, but... Noticing Nai Chen's gaze, Ao Lan couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded. Because in those eyes, she couldn't feel any fear at all. There wasn't even a little bit of fear. Nai Chen smiled slightly and didn't respond. Because the moment he entered Luosheng Hall, he had already seen the clues from the appearance of this place. In addition to the gloomy atmosphere, the pictures engraved on Luosheng Hall are the black and white yin and yang fish and a chessboard without pieces. These pictures are engraved right above Luosheng Hall, and extremely powerful formations are set up around them for protection. Obviously, these pictures are not simple decorations, and are even regarded as the highest respect by Luosheng Hall. And the yin and yang fish and the chessboard without pieces make Nai Chen feel familiar. Suanji chessboard. These pictures are to pay tribute to Xiao Wang, who owns the Suanji chessboard. Xiao Wang is respected as the chess emperor, known for his arrogance, and is even so arrogant that he plays chess against the sky. Luosheng Hall would worship the long-dead Xiao Wang in such a high position, which just shows that they, especially Xiao Yangkaiu, the demon emperor, long for the same free and unrestrained arrogance as Xiao Wang. And there is only one way to deal with such people to make them surrender. That is, to beat them with fists. Looking directly at Xiao Yangkaiu, Nai Chen's aura slowly swirled up. When it floated to the surroundings, all the demon cultivators widened their eyes instantly. That aura was actually the power of the Emperor. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shock, the love letter was sent to the Empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 410. When a faint golden light drifted away in all directions, the entire Luosheng Hall seemed to fall into deathly silence. Suddenly, the eyes of those demon cultivators looking at Nai Chen suddenly changed, filled with shock and fear. There seemed to be a thunderbolt in their hearts. With this sense of oppression and aura, he is clearly a powerful emperor. How is it possible? According to reliable information, a year ago he was just a young disciple who had just started practicing and was even abandoned by the sect. In just 1 year, from the beginning of cultivation to the waiting realm, even in the ancient times, with strong spiritual energy, it would never be possible to give birth to such a being. Even though they could clearly feel the aura, some of the demon cultivators simply couldn't believe it. However, that sacred and strong sense of oppression has already caused their bodies to tremble uncontrollably. The power of the great emperor is so impressive. Even if they decided to restrain themselves, they could not hide the fearful trembling in their hearts. Now do you still think that I am not qualified to send this letter? Nai Chen looked at Xiao Yangkaiu and smiled coldly. The abandoned son of the demon sect a year ago is now a powerful emperor? Ha ha ha, there is such a thing in the world. Different from many demon cultivators, Xiao Yangkaiu laughed unabashedly when looking at this scene. But the moment he looked into Nai Chen's eyes, the aura on his body became majestic. The billowing demonic energy is like a ferocious beast, as if it can tear the heaven and the earth apart. Ha ha, then I want to see how strong you are? If you cannot convince this emperor, you will die here even if you are the king of heaven. Xiao Yangkaiu's arrogance has obviously been revealed without any concealment. Nai Chen just had a calm day. Luosheng Hall enshrines Xiao Wan, who plays chess against the sky, as a saint. In other words, if you want to impress them, you only need to be more arrogant than them. Without any warning, the moment Nai Chen and Xiao Yangkaiu looked at each other, two majestic auras suddenly burst out. In the midst of the imperial power, two Dharma images appeared on the Luosheng Hall. Nai Chen's Dharma is the sacred and majestic golden Dharma. The appearance of Xiao Yangkaiu is a dark throne filled with strong demonic aura, which seems to symbolize his ambition to make the world surrender. The moment the demonic energy erupted on the throne, it seemed as if an army of millions had gathered in the billowing black mist. Countless monsters, countless soldiers, and thousands of sharp blades filled with cold air surged towards Nai Chen at the same time, as if they had the power to sweep the world. The strength of the demon emperor who swept across the entire demon world should not be underestimated. However, Nai Chen's current appearance has also changed compared to before. Although the golden giant in the past was also extremely powerful in the Dharma form, but it was more like just a huge soldier under Nai Chen's control. But after Nai Chen stepped into the room between the emperors, the golden giant actually underwent earth-shaking changes. Now the golden Dharma is just sitting on the ground, but it seems to have the awe-inspiring power of looking down on the world. Dharma Xiang's golden forehead is also engraved with strange and mysterious lines. It is as quiet as an immovable mountain, but when it gets up, the power it can unleash will be far beyond imagination. It is like the majesty of the Buddha, the divine majesty, and has the power to sweep the world. The whistling demonic energy slid past the side, and the golden Dharma also raised its palm. Golden light shone all over the sky, and waves of awe-inspiring oppression floated in all directions, causing the entire space to tremble. Even the scene in front of him was distorted. The simple and mysterious string sounds echoed, as if thousands of demons were worshipping. An even larger and richer black energy emerged from the pitch-black throne, billowing in and out. But facing those countless monsters and black energy, the golden Dharma still sat quietly on the spot, his palm slowly rising to the sky. Boom! The moment the palm print was waved out, the monstrous golden light seemed to turn into a big seal. Spiritual energy surged above the seal, burning like a blazing fire. What's more important is that the feeling of divine majesty is really like the Buddha wiping out all sentient beings in his anger. The strong demonic energy seemed not to be outdone and wanted to compete with it. The moment the two collide, it's like a mountain falling into the sea. The rocks shattered, huge waves surged into the sky, and the turbulent and shattering spiritual energy continued to surge in all directions. I don't know which side won, or whether it was evenly matched. Many demon cultivators just clearly felt that the pressure floating around them almost made them feel suffocated. Waves of strong aftermath even shattered the space, causing the scene in front of him to become distorted. Bang, bang. In the Luosheng Hall, the 12 large pillars with demon statues engraved on them shattered in response. Although the pillars can barely hold up, each one is filled with huge cracks visible to the naked eye. How is it possible? These 12 giant pillars of demon statues are made of high-grade black iron and have stood here for 100 years. The expressions of the demon cultivators couldn't help but be filled with shock and fear. They could not imagine that the aftermath of the spread of spiritual power alone could shatter 12 pillars. How terrifying was the fight between the two. Even some elders did not dare to slack off at this moment, and backed away in fear, fearing that they would be involved. Even with their strength, if they are accidentally involved, their lives will most likely be endangered. Not bad, really good. In the black fog, Xiao Yankai's figure slowly emerged. At this moment, his left eye had turned black. The light flashing in his pupils was full of madness and excitement, as if he recognized and appreciated Nai Chen's strength. But it was also filled with a strong murderous intent. It's rare to meet such an opponent, but I want to see what strength you have. Xiao Yankai laughed up to the sky. Along with his laughter, the originally thick black air suddenly increased again. Hu! The wind blew suddenly, and even the entire Luosheng Hall fell into endless darkness. Not only Nai Chen, but also those demon cultivators were also involved. What is this? Master Demon Emperor, spare us, we are still here. After only a moment, miserable wails sounded. In this black fog, those demon cultivators were also trapped in small worlds. And this is exactly the second ability of Xiao Yankai's throne golem, the endless demon domain. Construct a world that completely destroys a person from the body to the spirit. The evil spirit in the black fog will devour all those who are lost in it, leaving no trace. The world is like a chess game, and those who are trapped in it will become chess pieces that may be eaten at any time. This ability is exactly what he has learned from his endless belief and admiration for the chess emperor Xiao Wang. Shock, the love letter was sent to the empress by mistake. Author, Mozuzi. Chapter 411. Master Demon Emperor, please show mercy. In this endless demon domain, we will be devoured sooner or later. Master Demon Emperor, please let us go. Many demon cultivators did not dare to wait for a moment. The boundless fear had almost completely engulfed them. They shouted loudly with all their strength, trying to let Xiao Yankai let them go. However, at this moment, Xiao Yankai did not seem to care about them at all. Because in his eyes at this moment, Nai Chen was the only one left. Huh! The black fog swept over, not only engulfing many demon cultivators, but also engulfing Nai Chen. Anyone who was engulfed by the black fog would be trapped in a domain. And in those domains, there were countless lifelike chess pieces. Some turned into relatives and were killed, and some turned into friends who were indifferent and betrayed. Every chess piece belonging to Xiao Yankai would make the people trapped in it lose every step, and finally they could only be completely engulfed in despair. Using a small world as a chess piece, this mysterious secret is really incredible and extremely terrifying. Because so far, anyone trapped in the endless demon realm, no matter how powerful their cultivation is or how firm their mind is, they can't escape in the end. They can only watch the chess pieces being controlled around them in despair, and they will eventually become a chess piece and be trampled to pieces. However, Nai Chen in the black fog is completely different. In the small world condensed in front of him, the scenes are extremely realistic. Those lifelike chess pieces perform their duties, as if they want to do their best to push him into the abyss. Unfortunately, these actions can't affect him at all. Compared with a chess piece on the chessboard that can only go with the flow. Nai Chen stood still, more like an observer outside. His eyes calmly watched everything in front of him, but it seemed that he had never been affected by anything. Even the look in his eyes never changed. Although this chess game is realistic, the true mystery is far from affecting him. Such a poor chess game, you want me to sink into it? Nai Chen smiled indifferently and calmly watched everything in front of him. Xiao Yankai admired Xiao Wang, the chess emperor who played against the sky, and tried his best to pursue his figure. Even this endless demonic domain was realized because of his admiration for Xiao Wang. Using illusions as chess pieces and small worlds as domains. Such a chess game is indeed mysterious and unpredictable. It's a pity that it is still a little bit worse than his ancestors who used the world as chessboard and all living beings as chess pieces. Tracing back to the source, the real ancestors are here. Save me, save me. In the demonic domain, those fellow brothers who had been friends with Nai Chen were desperate and cruelly killed one by one. On the other side, the junior sister who had been leaning on him from beginning to end in the demon realm raised a dagger and stabbed Nai Chen's back in the black fog. The illusion formed by the chess pieces tried to drag him into the abyss. In addition to crying and wailing, and continuous slaughter, the drifting black fog seemed to have turned into a demon, whispering constantly, trying to make Nai Chen give up hope of life. The chessboard was advancing step by step, and it seemed to have entered the final circle of closing. But at this moment when it seemed to have fallen into endless despair, Nai Chen's clear eyes, which had never been affected by anything, revealed a hint of teasing. Do you think that these alone can trap me? Suddenly, an extremely mysterious aura swirled from his body. One black and one white, as if they were telling the truth of the world. There was a fusion of yin and yang, and it seemed that a pair of eyes that could look directly at the origin of the chessboard were born. And in the black and white air, a chessboard slowly emerged in Nai Chen's hand. When the chessboard appeared, the small world constructed by the black fog seemed to suddenly tremble. The condensed illusions first showed a trace of astonishment, and then twisted their bodies in pain. What are you doing? Don't put away the chessboard. That chessboard, ah! We are all your friends, your fellow apprentices, are you going to kill us? The cries echoed in Nai Chen's ears, trying to seduce him to put away the chessboard. But they didn't know what the identity of this chessboard was. In front of the Suanji chessboard, any chess game in the world will fall apart. Because in the whole world, there is only that one person who can play chess with the sky. When the Suanji chessboard comes into the world, there will be no chess game in the world. Boom! As Nai Chen stretched out his hand calmly, a chess piece floated down in the center of the Suanji chessboard. Suddenly, the black and white air spread to the surroundings. When it came into contact with it, the black fog that engulfed the entire Luosheng Hall was like encountering an extremely fearful existence, and it frantically wanted to disperse in all directions. But the speed of the black and white air was far beyond imagination. When it spread in all directions in an instant. In a flash, the black fog in almost half of the area in Luosheng Hall was completely swallowed up. Those demon cultivators who survived the disaster and finally survived were breathing heavily, and the horror had not yet dissipated. Who on earth can resist the demon realm of the demon emperor? But when they saw the source of the black and white air, they were almost stunned at the same time. It was Nai Chen. More importantly, the chessboard in his hand was the one that easily resolved the chess game and unlocked the black and white energy of the demon realm. And that chessboard. This chessboard, could it be? How is it possible? It's really it. Looking at the familiar chessboard, many demon cultivators opened their eyes wide at the same time, their eyes filled with endless astonishment. Other sects may not understand, but for Luosheng Dian, they are very familiar with this chessboard. Suanji chessboard. This chessboard is the natal magic weapon of the chess emperor Xiao Wang. With the world as chess pieces and the common people as pieces, there is also the pride of playing chess against the sky. Only this can be called the Suanji chessboard. Since the chess emperor Xiao Wan was buried in the thunder, the Suanji chessboard has completely disappeared with him. But why does the Suanji chessboard appear now, and it is in his hands? How is it possible? This is actually the Suanji chessboard. The rolling black fog has dissipated in the continuous swallowing. Looking at the scene in front of him, even Xiao Yangkai's eyes can't help but slightly widen, filled with disbelief. The usually arrogant eyes now show a trace of astonishment and even awe. The black and white chi hovered above the Suanji chessboard, as if even the great truth needs to be integrated into it before it can work. The golden lines engraved on the edge of the chessboard clearly confirmed its identity. This chessboard is the Suanji chessboard that the chess emperor Xiao Wan once played against the sky.